I'm David Pyle, your Executive Secretary and Treasurer, and I'm very pleased to be here on the 70th meeting of the American Finance Association in that position. My first job for today is to tell you a little bit about our financial situation, which is quite good. Our increase over the past year in net worth was about 7.2%. Some of you were here last year. You remember we took something of a bath in the stock market crash, though far less than many other esteemed institutions took, and we've gained probably 30 or 40% of that back, maybe more than that by now. So financially we're quite sound, and John Cochran will tell you later on how he intends to spend it all. We have a small membership increase over the year before, some drop in library subscriptions, which always happens in these kinds of situations. I think the next thing I want to tell you on my little cheat sheet here is that the next meeting is in Denver, and I'm giving you full warning right now. If you want to get a hotel room in wherever the AFA headquarters hotel is going to be, you better be one of the first people who gets on the AEA's site and makes a reservation for a hotel, because hotel space is apparently very, very tight, and there are going to be a lot of satellite hotels, and some of you may remember, like Washington some years ago, how bad it is when you get out in a satellite hotel and have to try to get into meetings and meet with students and so forth. So it's an important warning, and I will give it to you again before that day comes. I want to brag a little bit. One of the things that this association, I think most associations, does not do very well is participate in voting for officers. But this year we doubled the participation rate. So it's upwards of about 25% or something like that. Still not very great. How did we do it? Well, we managed to figure out a way to give you a one-click process to get directly to your personal ballot, and people responded. It's a lesson to us about using our internet capabilities that I think we're going to do something about. And finally, I think, but the last thing is to say that we have supplier relations that I usually report on, and they always seem to go pretty well with Blackwell, with online video services who will pick up the video things that we do here, and with B-Press and with SSRN, and we thank them for the services they give us. And now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Darrell, who will give the President's report.
Thanks, David. David has given me, as usual, a well-organized list of things to say. I'll insert one at the top of the list, which is that the association owes a huge debt to David Pyle for basically keeping the organization running smoothly, financially soundly, and well organized. Thank you, David. Now, first item on my list is the election results. The next vice president, which, as you know, by tradition, in 3 years, will be the president of the association, barring any problems, is Sheridan Tittman. Sheridan's here somewhere. And we also have additions to the board of directors. Now, normally there are 3 additions, but because Sheridan was already providing services to the association on the board, that means there is an additional vacancy on the board And our 4 new board members are Nick Barberis, Marcus Brunnermeyer, Bob McDonald, and Annette Bissing-Jorgensen. I also, it's my pleasure to thank the contributions to the board and to the association by retiring board members Patrick Bolton, Peter DeMarzo, Ken French, and John Wong. Thanks to them. I also want to thank our representative with the National Bureau of Economic Research, Marty Gruber, who has given us his report, and our relationship with the NBER is in good shape. Thank you. Next, it's my pleasure to call upon Stephen Buser, who's the association's historian, to come up and give us a sample of what he's been working on.
In January of 2004, a subcommittee of the AFA Board of Directors launched the History Projects. Their initial goal was to videotape interviews with 2 leading contributors to the field of finance each year. And so I'm happy to say, and after completing our 6th year, we're up to 12 interviews. And those in the back, you can't see those. The interviews were with Harry Markowitz, Bill Sharp, Robert Merton, Paul Samuelson, who sadly we just lost, but we fortunately got the interview in time, Ken Arrow, Robert Engel, Myron Scholes, Jack Traynor, Eugene Fama, Fred Weston, who, again, sadly we lost this year, but got his interview in time, Steve Ross, and Richard Roll. And through the efforts of David Pyle, we've managed to get these accessible through our website. So if you have not already accessed that, you can do so from the main page up in the upper left-hand corner. Blow that up. History of Finance. And then to give you a sneak preview of what you'll find when you get there, here's Bill Sharp's comments about our field in general.
I mean, it's just a marvelous field because it has some of the toughest intellectual problems that you can come up with, and yet it's got all sorts of practical applications. And to the extent that we can understand these things better, we can help ordinary human beings figure out how to arrange their lives so that they're as well off as they can be. So it's got social value, it's got commercial value, and it's got intellectual value. So it's a great field.
And in addition to the interview series, 3 years ago we launched the lecture series where we record lectures by various peoples on different aspects of the history of finance. And we're up to 12 of those lectures as well. Here's the 12 collection, but individually they are Perry Merling on Fisher Black, Mark Rubenstein about great moments of discovery in finance, Stu Myers on early days of corporate finance, Maureen O'Hara on market microstructure, Ed Kane on financial crisis then and now, Michael Jensen on integrity, Karen Ruck on the history of agency theory, Jeff Poitras on the very early days of finance, prior to 1776 and Adam Smith. Gene Fama with a nice introduction from John Cochran on efficient markets hypothesis. Will Getzman, again on the very early days and the role of capital markets in the development of ancient civilizations. And Paul Moranti, who talked about more recently the development of the odd lot trading system on the New York Stock Exchange. And then we brought Stu Myers back again this year to give us a talk on the contributions of Franco Modigliani. And then together we had a talk of Perry Merling on Fisher Black and a talk by Stuart Myers on Franco. And those are 2 of the 3 individuals that I think, helped launch this program. We wished we had also had Merton Miller, an interview with those 3 people. So we were late in getting started, but the lecture series is launched nevertheless. And another sneak preview of you, if you go and look at the lecture series, same place, you'll find the lecture series as the interview series. Here's Mark Rubenstein on talking about his approach to those great moments.
The history of how ideas develop. How does it happen that people think of things? And And how does the idea further get developed? What blind alleys does it go down? What are the ideas that end up sort of winning the game, so to speak? And I'm also very interested in who gets credit for those ideas.
And so we're going to carve out 3 of those lectures. We also have a talk from Dick Roll on Merton Miller, and we're going to put those together in our tribute series, one for Mert, one for Franco, and one for Fisher. Then the last section, we have added the in memoriam section. Shmuel Kandel was the first. Unfortunately, we lost him some time ago. This year we lost Chap Findley, and we also lost Fred Weston. We most recently lost Paul Samuelson. This is not from his memoriam thing, but it's from his lecture, but I thought it'd be appropriate to close out the session with some comments about life in general from Professor Samuelson. Here we go.
Well, it's been a good life. I've always been overpaid, underworked, because my work doesn't work.
And history projects, 2004 to 2009 and counting. We will do some more next year and in the future years. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Get that out of the way there.
That was excellent, Stephen. Thanks so much. The first for us. I'm also to report to you on new business of the association through the board of directors yesterday afternoon. We completed our routine chores like approving a new budget, setting up a nominating committee for next year's election, setting up a selection committee for the next Fisher Black Prize. And in addition to those relatively routine chores, I believe John Cochran is going to tell us about a new initiative that the board approved yesterday, and I invite him to the podium. Want to talk about that? Yeah, that's the time.
So what we want to do is dramatically improve the association's website, both in the Web 1.0 manner of making it much easier to get stuff, but also in the Web 2.0 manner of making it a site for discussion, communication, and all the exciting things one can do with the web. When you look at our association's mandate to disseminate and help create research and finance, if you look at that from the context of now, the answer is make a website, and we want to do that. To that end, what we've done procedurally is we will have a search committee that is going to look for an internet director who will be a new officer of the association, much as Cam Harvey and David Pyle and the president and so forth, who will be in charge of guiding this operation. And I mention that especially right now because I need your help in finding such a person. So if you have suggestions for the moment for who people you know who would be really good and devote their energies to this project, the search committee would like to know about it. This will be announced on the AFA website, or you can just email me. I know I'm going to get stuck with this project. And then secondarily, we're going to start thinking about how to make this all better so that once we get a director, I hope you will contribute and help that person do something really great for all of us.
You're actually up right now.
Oh, okay.
Program director.
So on to the next program. Fairly straightforward. We had 1,363 submissions, which sounds like a lot, but it was down by about 7 submissions from Darrell, breaking the trend of up 10% a year. So get back to work and submit some more papers so that Raghu has something to do next year. That ended up in 174 papers were accepted in 54 sessions, which are, as usual, very well attended, making us do our jobs here. The acceptance rate remained low, and the meetings continue to be very successful. We have a few innovations we're thinking about to make them even fresher and more interesting for next year.
Okay, make the report for the Journal of Finance, which closed its year-end December 31st, so not much time for me to put these slides together. But let's go through some basic statistics that I usually review. New submissions are identical to what they were in 2008. So 1,020, so no change. It looks like resubmissions have decreased, but actually I've changed the reporting system to make it what I view as more reasonable. So what I've done, in all the statistics, I've purged the style revisions. So you get the email saying you've got to change the case of the tables and things like that. Usually they're turned around very quickly, sometimes in a few hours, and those used to go into the system and kind of artificially drive down the turnaround time. So I purged all of those, and that's about 100 resubmissions I purged. So even though it looks like resubmissions are down, that's just not the case. I didn't bother to go into the past data to make things comparable. Next year, I think everything will be clean. So turnaround time. Turnaround time, you'll notice the median is 45 days compared to 2008, which is 38 days. Well, 2008 included all these quick style revisions. So you can see right at the very top up there, for less than 20 days, you see a big decrease in the red up here, and that's purely as a result of the style revisions. So really, the turnaround time has not decreased. It's about the same, 45 days. I think that's a reasonably good turnaround time. This is a new slide. What I did was, as of December 31st, figured out the 5 papers that were in the process the longest. So they're either with the referee or with me or associate editor. And these are the oldest papers, and actually I see some of the referees in the audience. So yes, especially at 7317. But the bottom line here is, yeah, he's here. I shouldn't have revealed the gender. Sorry about that. The point here is that there's no real big tail here. So this is, I think, fairly good news. There's not papers hanging around for a year or anything like that. Usually what we do fairly automatically is to go to a second reviewer if you pass a certain threshold. Certain papers we know will be a little later. They're more difficult to deal with. But I think that this is just consistent with reasonably good turnaround time. The probability of a first round revise and resubmit, or what I call sometimes a reject and resubmit, is 12% this year. Let me brag a little bit about our citations, and this is our JCR 2008 total cites. And the Journal of Finance moved up this year from slot number 4 to slot number 3, behind the American Economic Review and Econometrica. We also moved up 1 in impact factor. For the first time, we went over 4 as an impact factor, and behind QJE and Journal of Economic Literature. Before I go to the prizes, just a few other things that happened this year that are important. This was the first year that we had an operational editorial advisory committee, and this is a committee of the executive committee where we meet approximately 4 times a year, and I can actually bring them issues, seek advice, they give me advice. It's just a great idea, so that I've got a mechanism to bounce ideas off a group more than once a year. So I think that that's been a big success, and I'm grateful for that. Number 2 item is an administrative change. One of these meetings I'm going to bring her along, and I've already told her maybe next year or the year after, and that's Wendy Washburn. She is the editorial assistant of the Journal, and she deals with thousands of submissions and inquiries, and does just a great job for the Journal. And it makes my job so much easier, because I don't need to focus on the administrative aspects of this particular job. So Wendy's been editorial assistant, and she was hired by Rob Stambaugh for 6.5 years. And I have promoted her to assistant editor. And while it doesn't seem like a big deal if you work in publishing, it is a significant, change of rank from editorial assistant to assistant editor. And I think that it better reflects her contribution to the journal. A couple of final things. One thing that I've been trying to work on, and the editorial advisory committee and the board has been very, very supportive of, is to decrease the number of rounds that a paper is in for. And I've made significant progress on that. In 2008, 48% of the papers that were accepted went basically 2 revisions. And in 2009, 73% of the papers were accepted after 2 revisions. So we're working really hard on that first revise and resubmit, get lots of feedback there. We expect a lot of work. The time to get it back to the journal is a little longer. That's true, but we're really trying to finish this after 2 revisions, and we made good progress on that. The last thing, this is not obviously a one-person job. I've got just great help with a co-editor of the caliber of John Graham, just invaluable. I just can't imagine doing this job without John's help. Plus, on top of that, I've got a lot of very dedicated associate editors that are doing much more work than associate editors have done in the past. And that really makes a difference, having a second read on a paper or to go through a referee report and come that's really important to all of us. So they're doing a great job. I'm really, really pleased.